You.
Yeah, Woodstock, 1969. Oh, I love to tell my story. It's so funny. I thought we were going, my brother and another friend, down to Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I'm the only one that worked. They were basically they chased girls, chased pussy. And good looking guys. One was in a band. In fact, his uncle was Fran Tarkington from the Vikings. And so they said, well, we want to go down to Florida. We need your car. They didn't have a car. I'm the only one that worked. So I got off work on a Wednesday. We took off that night in my 63 Chevy, two-door hardtop, 409, big tires on the back, jacked up on the front. Typical 60s car. Wish I had it now. Anyway, I said, listen, I'm going to go to sleep. I've been working overtime to get, to go for this concert, and I thought we were going to Florida. I said, I'm tired. I'm going to crawl in the back and go to sleep. Yeah, okay. So I woke up about 2.5 hours later, and they're heading north. They're not going south. So I saw signs for Asheville, North Carolina. I'm going, hey guys, you're going the wrong way. And they said, oh, no, change the plan. We found out there's a music festival in New York City. We're in the city. So anyway, the trip up there was a real trip. We picked up hitchhikers. We traded one drug for another drug, a lot of weed, but you got to remember, everything was illegal then. And we were highly suspect because long hair. And so anyway, we got there and we got to New York City, and I told my brothers and his friend Chris, I said, listen, I want to go to East Village. I want to see Greenwich Village. Yeah, okay. So we pulled into New York City about 5 o'clock in the morning, and it was, we were going down the street, the wrong way on a one-way street. And there's a tenement building, and a guy there looked like Jimi Hendrix sitting on the stairs. And he goes, hey, you guys are going the wrong way. He comes over and he goes, oh, Georgia. No wonder. I said, hey, we're here for the music festival. He said, well, it's not in New York City. It's 110 miles out of New York City. So, anyway, I sat in the water. Let me put something on that chair. Well, we were in East Village, and there was an old friend of mine from Atlanta called Electric Bob. And he was walking around with his black top hat and a cane and a full length, like pea coat, maybe officer's coat. And we said, hey, Bobby, what's up? He says, I got 3,000 hits of acid. You guys want some? I says, how much is it? He said, I'll take $2 a hit from you guys. And it was normally like $7. But my brother and his friend didn't have any money. And Bobby Visor, or Electric Bob, said, well, give me $5, and here's 3. Well, he told me that, but they didn't hear it. So I took what there was. I thought it was one hit of really good acid because I had never had it on blotter before on paper. So we're in Greenwich Village, and my brother and his friend are there then. And we're sitting in this restaurant, and I am getting off, man. I am like zooming into outer space. It's like, beat me up, Scotty. Well, we're sitting in this restaurant. The first weird thing is that there's dog shit everywhere. on the sidewalks, everywhere. And people step in it, so it smells, and there's flies, and it's nasty. Tenement buildings. God bless them. I mean, the people have all their laundry, and it's smog and filthy and windy, and these buildings are dirty. Don't look like they've ever been washed. Old tenement buildings. Anyway, Greenwich Village was a bit of a letdown. And right where we were sitting in the restaurant, there's a window, and then the sidewalk parallel. Well, there's this guy from the city, I thought, that had these barriers and tape, and a little girl, and he was down in the hole, like the manhole, welding. And there's a little girl standing there staring at it. Well, I've been a welder since I was young. And you burn your eyes. And I said, guys, that little girl is watching that welder. She's sitting there staring at it. I said, what little girl? She didn't exist. The guy down in the hole was welding, but the little girl wasn't there. I don't know what happened to her. It could have been the effect of the drug. It probably was. Anyway, our day in New York City was quite hilarious because a few weeks before I had done something, and you edit this out if you need to. I joined the Black Panthers. And I went to New York City. I was flown there. And I met my black brothers in New York City. And we burned the draft files. Draft only lasted, I think, 5 months or 6 months after that. Then it became a lotto. All because of us. I had something to do with that. I lit the match. I don't know if we need to edit that. We should check with an attorney. Woodstock. So we couldn't drive in New York City. He said, no, best thing to do is we're going to walk and we're going to take the subway. You ever been on the subway? I said, no, I haven't. Well, it was a funny experience. First of all, to be tripping my brains out, peaking what turned out to last 3.5 years after Woodstock. But it helped me in many ways because it helped me apply myself at all the things that I was working and learning, so I didn't end up in an asylum, you know. And I eventually came down. I got married, had my first son, opened up. I was the youngest Triumph dealer in America at 19 years old. That was after getting back from the army. But anyway, oh gosh, now Vietnam, like I said on that poster, Woodstock was 5 days of peace and rain for us. Woodstock was 5 days of peace and rain, but Vietnam, January 1970, I was in Saigon as a medic, already been trained for my 1 week of medical school, how to use peroxide, how to put a tourniquet on, and how to give a shot of morphine, basically, and some light stitching. Butterflies and things that were being used too, so we could do not too terrible stuff. But like that poster, I said, 5 days of peace and rain, Woodstock, and then Vietnam, January 1970, 5 months of war and pain. Because I had to be in the, I was a medic, and my assignment was to work in the morgue in Saigon. And I did that for 3 months. And I couldn't take it anymore. I went to the commanding officer and I said, "Sir, I can't do this anymore." I'd run across a couple friends from high school. I run across 5 or 6 people from boot camp in Fort Benning that were killed. I ran across 3 other medics who were killed, who were out in the field, that were at the same medic training in Miramar, where I was. I was in the Army. Anyway, I went back to the commanding officer. I said, "Sir, I can't do this thing in the morgue anymore." And he said, "Well," first off, he commented and said, "You've done a very good job. We haven't had anybody that stayed as long as you in your position. Closing the eyes, cleaning the bodies. As you probably may or may not know, when humans die, usually, if we're not blown to pieces, everything in our digestive tract comes out, the size of a football, and it smells like that. And the one thing I learned was the smell of death." Anyway, we went out 4 days later, because I told the commanding officer, I said, "Just put me out in the field." And he said, "Okay." So 4 days later, we're out in the field for 4 days, and we were 3 platoons. There was 150 men altogether, and myself, 1 medic. And I had the radio telephone. I had, there were others, but those people were killed. Anyway, we were attacked by over 1,000 BC, surrounded in this open field that had ditches, and they're almost like irrigation ditches, but there's snakes and leeches. Oh, they're bad. And a long story short, and there's no way to put time to it, because when you're in a circumstance like that, your adrenaline is going so hard. You can't hear. You use hand signs to your brothers as best you can. Anyway, when it was almost over, basically everybody had been shot except for me. And I wasn't a coward. I was helping people as best I could, but we were slaughtered. And well, one guy was very close to the ditch. I didn't use the gun they gave me, an M1 and a 45. I didn't have they told me to take my Red Cross patch off, because that would be a bullseye. And I had cleaned up. 4 others, medics, chose to wear theirs, and became a statistic. So I went back to the commanding officer and said, "Sir, I got to go home." He said, "Well, if it's hard, you got to go see the shrink." So I went to the shrink, and he said that I had an acute case of paranoia caused by the use of non-prescribed drugs. The acid at Woodstock. 5 days of peace and rain. And my God, 5 months, look where I'm at. It's a living hell. I'm 18 years old. I have everything going for me. And became very independent. Opened up businesses. I was the youngest Triumph motorcycle dealer in America, in Lithonia, Georgia, at 19 years old. I managed a Honda shop for some people after, up in Clarksville, Georgia, which was up in the mountains, and I loved it because I needed the space. I needed to be out of the big city, Atlanta. And I was. It was beautiful, but my wife didn't like it. And I was getting good money managing this shop and I was racing professionally, so I had a name. I did flat track, and I did mile and half mile sliding, 120 miles an hour. With a steel shoe, you're skiing, you know. And I was national number 47 in 1968. Anyway, the shrink said I had an acute case of paranoia caused by the use of non-prescribed drugs. I'm jumping all over. Couldn't be the weed. Could be I didn't sleep much last night. Anyway, so he had me back in his office the next day, and he said to me, "Farsad, I got the letter." I said, "What? Come in, we'll read it." So he read it, and he said, "Well, congratulations, you won a free one-way ticket home from Vietnam." I said, "Sir, yes, sir, thank you, sir." He said, "Don't be so goddamn happy, because you're never going to get any benefits, and you're going to get a dishonorable discharge." I said, "Sir, thank you, sir." And off I went. But the trauma at 18 years old, you can only imagine when you lose so many friends, and not through any fault of their own. And I became a real war protester. That I feel that the politicians who start these wars and the religions, you look at the history, it's amazing how religion has been behind in some way almost every war. Anyway, when I got home, I was so busy getting married, taking on all this responsibility, so I didn't end up in an asylum from the acid, because I had colors of purple, green, rainbow colors, trails, where when your hand goes like this, it goes. I couldn't even smoke pot for 3.5 years, because if I was around anybody that was, well, it wasn't so much pot, but I didn't smoke it. I got contact highs, and the paranoia would come back. Nightmare paranoia. And I managed to function through it, because my oldest son was born in December 1970, and I got married. My high school sweetheart, we went together for 5 years. She's on the World Poker Tour, by the way. And the racing and everything was adrenaline. I was an adrenaline junkie. I did skydiving. I raced motorcycles professionally. I rode motocross, short flat track, half mile, mile. I road raced for Hodaka motorcycles. I was very light. I weighed 137 pounds, 5'11", and part of my femininity, I was very small. But somewhere along the line, and I didn't even tell people I was in Vietnam. I was ashamed that I got no benefits. I didn't need them. I said, shit, I'm going to make my own way. And when I was young, I was very fortunate. I have letters of reference from people that I've worked for as a general contractor, as a certified kitchen designer for very high-end kitchens in movie stars' homes, multi-million-dollar homes on the Las Vegas golf course, PGA golf course. I'm not bragging. It's just I was an opportunist, so I couldn't live in the past. What happened in Vietnam? That was a shame. It happened. It wasn't going to happen to me again. Ultimately, it made me a much better person. I became a father, a husband, and we were all hippies. I mean, her and I, and my son. I mean, we raised him that way. We didn't smoke pot in front of him, things like that. I had a few plants going in the woods. I learned at a very early age how to do that. Then I gave it. I shared it with people. That was it. So it wasn't about the money. And, you know, in this world we live in, karma, what goes around comes around. What we put out to people, municipalities, societies, internet, media, it says a lot about us. And I think one of my greatest hopes in all this, I'm looking so forward to this at 70 years old. You know, I'm an old fraud. My life has been through hell living like a man in 66 years. Living like Vietnam was a bad dream. And 2 years ago, on Veterans Day, I kept myself away from helicopters, things that made noises that reminded me of Vietnam. I didn't go to 4th of July fireworks and things like that. It freaked me out. Until my kids were a little older, and then, you know, but it was hard for me to do those things. But I did them. I did what every good daddy would do. You know, my kids, I'm proud to say, never went without a meal, unless it was their own fault. They were late, you know. We never had our power turned off, our gas turned off. I owned my homes, so I didn't not in rent. So I made my own rules, and you know what I could do on my property. I refused to buy a home and then HOAs. It's like a dictatorship. but I understand. Anyway, that's Woodstock in Vietnam. There's more to the story with Woodstock if you want to hear a little bit more. Well, that day while we were walking around New York City, and I'm tripping my brains out, and my brother and his friend Chris Simpson are straight, and I'm tripping. We go to get on the subway, and it's a dark place, and this tunnel it's like a worm. It flies in fast, stops, doors come open, people rush out, people rush in, the doors close, boom, it's gone. I'm like, how in the hell do you know which one to get? People are standing on the edge watching like this. People fall. You know, I mean, and being on LSD was like, I'd never experienced anything like that. The sounds and and everything. So, my brother and Chris, I'm kind of slow to get to the door. He said, "This is the train. This is the train." I said, "Okay." I get over there. They grab my hand and jerk me in before the door closes. And there's not a seat on the train. We're in the front car. And they had, like in the buses, they had the rail and the straps. So my brother and Chris are sitting with somebody else, but they're about 3 seats back from the front. And in the front, there's a little window, as I recall, about this big. And it's about this high. And I was standing right at the front car. And I thought, it's got to have an engine like a train. I don't know. And I'm standing there, and I'm looking through this light, and there's light bulbs in the tunnel. And as the train takes off, it's going, shoo, shoo. And the train is getting noisy, and it's like it's shaking inside the tunnel, the subway tunnel. It's like a giant, noisy, rattling worm. And it's shaking like crazy, and the sound is going off, and the light bulbs are a solid light. They're no longer individual light bulbs. It's a long, straight line of light. And anyway, my brother and his friend are sitting there. They were a little upset at me because I didn't give them any acid. Well, I wish I could have. I wish I had known. I ate them all, and that was way too much. So they're going, quit shaking the train, Ken. Quit shaking the train. Quit shaking the train. And I finally, I like blacked out. I guess I was a walking zombie, and I don't remember much from that time. I don't remember getting off the subway train. I don't remember how much walking we did. But I came to in the Greyhound bus station. And there's about 6 gorgeous hippie chicks with their backpacks and their gear, you know. And I came to. I don't know if I was sleeping. I don't know if I was unconscious. That was the way it seemed. But that had never happened to me before. You know, no memory. And because they freaked me out when they did that about me shaking the train. I actually would believe I was the one shaking the train. I don't want to stop. Anyway, bad stuff. So I'm in the Greyhound bus station, and I said, do you guys know where my brother and Chris? Because I felt like they abandoned me, stole my car, and I had to find a bus that dropped me off at the bus station to get back to Atlanta, hot Atlanta. Well, they said, oh no. Well, see, they didn't have any money. That's why they didn't get any acid. And they knew I was pissed because all they had was enough to share the gas to get there, but not to get home. Well, that's quite a trip. In a 63 Chevy, 409, you know, that wasn't the best gas. Of course, gas was, I don't know, 40 cents a gallon or something. God, those were the good days. But they said, these women, these girls said, oh no, your brother said he's going to give us a ride to the concert. You couldn't get out of New York City to get to the concert because the day we got there, it became a free concert. People stormed the gate, and it became a free concert. Everybody was going to Woodstock. Well, you couldn't get there. I mean, they had to fly the entertainers in. They couldn't come in their limos, you know. No, and so that was cool. I say, oh, you see that chopper right there? That's Santana, or that's Country Joe and the Fish, or, you know. Well, so it was 110 miles away, and they had gone to get one more person, so they had 7 chicks, only women. Plus there were 3 of us. So there's 10 people, sleeping bags, backpacks, strapped all over the paint of my new car, my new paint job that I had just done on this beautiful 63 Chevy. And they were charging them for the ride to get from the bus station where they couldn't get tickets. They were clever to know to go to the bus station because they heard on the news, on the radio, can't get anything. Everybody who looked 17 years old, the police would pull us over while we were walking or we were in subways or whatever, because something I had been involved with the Black Panthers and burning pedophiles. I'm so proud of myself. Anyway, they were taking everybody down to the police station. They were fingerprinting us, taking pictures. If you looked 17, you were 16, but you looked 17, you looked 18, you were on your way to the police department. And it was funny, they took us there, and then we had to get our own way back. You know, but with subways and public transportation, that was one thing I liked about New York City. So anyway, we got there about 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. As I recall, it was Thursday afternoon. And we left Monday afternoon. I decided that we needed to stay and help the farmer clean up the mess. Kind of like Alice's restaurant. And so we didn't get out of there till Monday late. But when we got there, we were over 3 miles from the actual concert area. And there were these little country roads. And on these roads, there were streams of people. Most everybody was going to the concert. It had become a free concert. People were 8, 10, 12 people wide. Like a marching zombie band. No music. Well, there was music. Oh, I take that back. I think we had 8-track players that we had radios, but people were singing, there was tambourines, so all you had to do, the mud was so bad. I mean, there was 6 inches of mud, okay? Well, I decided I wasn't going to wear my nice shoes and boots. So I went barefoot through the mud. Shit the bigger. And I'm walking with these people like a zombie. You got to remember, I'm only 24 hours or so from the time I took this acid. So I'm not feeling any pain. We're walking, I swear, it looked to me as you saw these people walking, everybody together, everybody laughing, joking, passing joints. It truly was peace and love. There were little kids who, at that time, communes were becoming very popular. So there was a lot of the communal people. They didn't have to work. They were our original homeless. They learned how to live in communes and work together in peace and free love, of course. So you find a girlfriend, a mate, whatever was your desire, and work for food. And shelter. But we're walking down this dirt road in the country, 6 inches of mud, I'm barefoot. And the police were on horseback. And there's a policeman behind me, and I'm walking, laughing like my usual self and telling jokes. And this cop is on a horse right over my right shoulder. Get out of the way! Get out of the way! Get out of the way! So me, I stopped dead in my tracks, turned around, a 180, to be facing this horse's head. And the cop on it with a helmet said, Saying, get out of the way. Well, the horse stepped on the top of my left foot. And it peeled the skin off the top of my foot. Well, because of the no pain thing I was in, it was Sunday. No. I have a hard time with this. I think it was Saturday. I went down to the stage because it was Sunday morning. Joan Baez sang Amazing Grace Sunday morning, a cappella, and I cried, you know? Anyway, if I got the days mixed up, it's because I was mixed up. But they took me backstage, and they had me see a doctor. They gave me a tetanus shot. They cleaned me all up, gave me a pair of shoes, and let me hang around the rest of the day. Well, I met Jimi Hendrix, got to kiss him. I met Carlos Santana. Arlo Guthrie was in a tent, and he was a kid. I had just seen him 2 weeks before Woodstock on the Johnny Carson show, singing, coming into Los Angeles, bringing in a couple of keys. Don't touch my bags if you please. Anyway, Arlo Guthrie became, that was a hit. I loved him. Well, Arlo Guthrie, his father, Woody Guthrie, was there. And Arlo was talking down, I swear, there was a tent, and there was a little 2x6 stage, and a bunch of chairs. There were probably 8 or 10 people that were freaking out from the good acid, having bad trips. But, well, I don't know. They were freaking out. They were having some problems. And Arlo was there, talking them down. He had a wonderful voice, and he wasn't singing. He was just reasoning with people. And I was standing there. I had 2 lunch bags. I had all this food, and they said I could go down to the tent where all the people were under the tent. People that were there to sing and play. I met Jimi Hendrix. I went up and shook his hand and gave him a hug, and when I gave him a hug, I kissed him, just like the Arabs do. Yeah. He was royalty to me. I mean, anyway. But I got to meet these people and see them. Unlike today, it seems as though a lot of people in show business and those who are entertainers, they become famous. They lose something. And maybe they don't. Maybe, I don't honestly know. But sometimes I know I've misjudged some of the entertainers that I've met. Because they want their privacy. They just want their privacy. Well, I can go for that. I never wanted my privacy. I want to make people laugh. Ryan Stiles. Do you know who Ryan Stiles is? He's about 6'7", 6'8". In Bellingham, Washington, I was working in his comedy club. And I was cleaning tables between shows and sweeping popcorn off the floors, and Ryan walked in. And he heard good things about me. I was a go-getter. And I did it for free tickets that I gave to people to come to the comedy show. So I walked up to Ryan as he walked in. And I said, "Take me to your ladder. I'll see your leader later." He said, "You are on the show tonight. We're going to do a skit. And you're going to do that very thing." And I said, "Okay." Are you shy? Hell no. And so I got to work with the troupe, for a few months, and then I had bigger fish to fry, things that I had to do, and that's when I got beaten up first time, and they took away my ability to earn extra money as a contractor, as a remodeling guy, as a kitchen cabinet person, very multi-talented, welder, a hot rod builder, custom Harley builder. Anyway, yeah, I built the ZZ Top for Billy Gibbons. I'll show you some pictures here in a little bit. In magazines all over the world. And that was not the beginning of my media attention. So when I was about 15, we moved from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, up to the boonies in Georgia, outside Atlanta. And we had a golf course, a driving range, a dairy farm, and my great uncle was Christopher Columbus Smith from Chris Craft Boats. My dad owned a company called Mobile Pro Shop. He worked for Chris Craft until 1963, same year that Kennedy was assassinated. They were sold out to AMF. AMF also bought Harley Davidson, and Harley Davidson started in 1903, same year. My great uncle said something Henry Ford didn't say till 10 or 12 years later. Every family needs 2 cars. Well, my great uncle started it with boats. No, it was a car. Every family, he initiated that, needs to have a boat. Well, when you're up in Wisconsin, you're on the Great Lakes, you're in a very highly populated area, Chicago, Detroit. These cities on the Great Lakes, they're just inundated with boats. And I see the same thing here, and that's one of the reasons I wish I had found this place when I was 20. Montana is gorgeous. Anyway, I hope I'm not boring you.